hater YouTubers. So yeah, I suppose I've hit many points of new lows in the most recent days, and I like to give a bit of a summary about how I spent how I've been spending my life with solitude, with depression, with various sorts of disappointments, and desperation with my life, and people who appeared to me in my life. So here's the deal. In this world, you have no true love, and that includes excuse me. That includes your supposedly best friends, colleagues, co-workers, grandma, grandpa, all sorts of all other sorts of people. So the best, through many trials and tribulations, through a multitude of sleepless nights and moments of suicidal thoughts and self-harm, by even spotting a pair of scissors, which I used to which I bought to cut my own hair during the pandemic. Whenever I see it, each time I think of it, or each time I see it, each time I begin to picture, how I use that pair of scissors to cut my own penis, to stab myself until I bleed to death. Yeah, I pictured many moments of self-harm and moments of committing suicide using various methods, so on and so forth. Yeah. So don't tell me you are depressed unless you've been experiencing similar thoughts and fantasies. Yeah. There are also other phenomena that can characterize extreme or severe degree of depression, and probably also personality disorders or something like that. I'm not a psychiatrist, nor I hold any degree in psychology or whatsoever. But as a single Jude who have experienced a multitude of shitty moments firsthand, alone, I believe I earn no less credit than anybody else to talk about what depression feels like, what sort of a thing that could have triggered depression, most likely, and more often than not, they are they are, you know, most predominantly triggered by you know, by unreasonable people, you know, by people who are unreasonable, who are abusive, who are, you know, manipulative, you know, and that can include, you know, people who, you know, who you reckon, you know, that might that you know, truly that you reckon that truly cared about you, or, you know, love you with any with no condition or whatsoever. But once you begin to realize, you know, they kind of just, you know, use you as some sort of leverage to attain their own game, or to maintain their position of bargaining whatsoever, you know. And after so many days of being MIA, and you don't even have a handful of a handful of you just received a handful of phone calls from them, you know, allegedly to confirm whether you are still breathing or not. That's what's, you know, so far I have found, you know, the most disappointing and depressing, you know, fact about myself. That, you know, pretty much nobody, you know, pretty much nobody, you know, get into, you know, or at least tried to get in touch with me purely to ask, you know, whether if I'm okay or not. But so you know, after being you know, screwed by, you know, by people like that for a multitude of times, a multitude of occasions, I pretty much, you know, I pretty much forfeited the notion that, you know, people still care. You know, they don't care, you know. And I can utterly relate to it, you know, since I'm not the only one who have found himself so stranded in a harsh situation. There are definitely more than definitely, you know, a multitude of you know, people, especially, you know, young males, young single males, you know, who have utterly nobody to speak to about their feelings, except YouTube, except, you know, sometimes, yeah, Discord, you know, but that the you gained opportunities to speak to people about your grievances via Discord is, you know, because you first, you know, you took the initiative by sharing, you know, your contact details, you know, the invitation, the invite, the link of invite, you know, from Discord, you know, on YouTube, you know, which means you pretty much still have only one, you know, one channel, you know, one you know, just one way to blow off some steam, and that means, you know, you have only YouTube to talk to about your grievances. and YouTube. Well, so far at this point, I can't give you a qualified judgment about whether YouTube does so out of the goodness of her heart or otherwise, since I still don't know YouTube well enough, to reach a conclusion that carries qualified judgment, about whether YouTube is righteous or wicked or just neutral. Yes, since I don't know YouTube very well, I don't know YouTube sufficiently well, so far as I believe. Therefore, I refuse to. To comment about YouTube in terms of whether YouTube cares about me conditionally or unconditionally. Well, though I imagine I am more inclined to believe that YouTube does so more unconditionally than doing so conditionally. Since I can upload, at least at the time being, I can upload to YouTube whenever I want, as long as I can still connect to VPNs and therefore connecting myself with with the Western world, who has little to none internet censorship. Yeah. So, excuse me, just trying to gather thoughts. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, for this video is you have fewer friends, you have a lot fewer friends than you tend to imagine, than you can usually come to realization. And you don't know much. You don't know as much as you reckon, because you don't have access to other people's mind, and you don't have access to the back end, to the data center of YouTube, of Google, and neither do you have the access to their confidential files or confidential lists of files. So you can come to a conclusion that either YouTube cares about you conditionally or unconditionally or otherwise. Yeah, and the same principle applies to gauging and judging people's intentions and end games. Excuse me. And you don't earn any credit to judge people who just have no choice but to continue to maintain and gather interests and benefits for themselves, since you have utterly no idea how pathetic, how isolated, how marginalized those people are, and you don't know how desperate they have become. Unless you experienced, you have had experiences, you have had similar experiences to which you've you continuously find yourself in a tough situation where you have you just don't know what to do to proceed with your life, but fapping, oversleeping, and work so hard to the point that you forget what you forget how to enjoy your life, how to how to live, how to live for yourself, how to seek higher goals, higher agenda. Yeah. So biblical evidence to substantiate my claims here. Yes, there is one. In fact, I believe there is more than one. First, remove the speck in your eyes before you Matthew chapter 7 verses 3 to 5. Is it? Sorry. Matthew chapter 7 verses 5. You hypocrite. You hypocrite. First cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then shall you see clearly to cast out the mote out of your brother's eye. Some other versions, for instance, King James, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. Yes, eye, not eyes. Sorry. So yeah. Thank you for watching then, and maybe I will still see you next time on YouTube. Maybe not, because I don't think I have much time before I had to depart from this world. So yeah, bye bye. Signing off.